Hi guys, my name is Joan Mero, more commonly known as Joan Zoya. I am a book lover. I live in Nairobi, Kenya. I read for fun. I am a bookstagrammer. Recent, I recently joined Bookstagram and it's been a beautiful journey. And reading to me is travel, time travel. It takes me to different places, and books are an ever-present companion to me. I consider books my best friend. I could literally just I love humans, but I love books more. So that's basically just me. And welcome to book lovers. Let me take you on my reading journey, and hopefully you learn something from me. I didn't start reading for fun until I was about 23. Before that, I was just reading educational stuff. I read a bit of there was this hype going around of Goosebumps and Famous Five and all that in primary school. I tried it because my friends were doing it, but back then I was not a reader at all. So even in high school, when people were reading Nils and Boons and all the romance novels, I was never that girl. So in 2012, when I got my first job with my first salary, I used to work in Westlands. So I just walked to textbook center. It was pretty close to my workplace. And then I said, I want to start reading. And that's how I started reading. And I bought my first book that I bought for myself, which was A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. I love that book and I owe it so much because it actually got me into the reading journey, the reading habit, I mean. So after that, I made the conscious decision to buy one book every 2 months. Yeah. I got carried away. I don't know how I got to just being going into a bookstore and buying 5 books because we started so well in 2013. Eventually, I found my niche, which was African fiction. And the books that got me into reading African fiction were Chimamanda books. I think the first book I read of hers was Americana. And then, yeah, so I've been an avid reader since then, since 2013. I used to post my books casually on Instagram. Like, I used to have a personal account, yeah. So books were just part of the normal posts that I put. But then in July 2020, I turned my account into a bookstagram, meaning I archived all my personal posts. And people asked me if I've broken up with my husband because all of a sudden all our personal posts were not there, and then it was kind of alarming because I used to share a lot of music and a lot of travel stuff and all that, so people were pretty confused why I'm keeping a low profile. But by now I think everyone knows it was a conscious decision. I really love talking about books. I don't do it as much as I want to, but just posting books and getting people interested in reading, it gives me a kind of thrill. Yeah. So as I'm getting older, I've had to become very intentional about my reading. Yeah, because life is fast and it's not waiting for anyone. Before, I used to decide it's a Saturday, yeah, I'm reading all day in bed. I can't do that right now. So right now, I came to realize that if I'm not intentional about my reading, I will not get much reading done. So for that reason, some of the habits I've picked up in regards to reading is I track my reading a lot. Yeah. If I showed you the folder in my phone that is the books folder, I have so many apps. It doesn't make sense to people because I track my reading, I track my library. Um, it just keeps me grounded. Yeah, I know, for instance, the app that I'm using to track my readings, like a reading journal, but I've never been much of a writer, like physical writing. I do everything on my phone, so having a reading journal has always been a struggle. I've tried once, it didn't work out for me. So there's this app called Read More. Yeah, so I decided I'll be reading 2 hours a day. Most times I find that I have to segment it. Yeah, I cannot read a full 2 hours. So within my day, that 2 hours can be segmented into maybe 3 or 4 reading sessions. So with read more, when I start reading a book, it has like an hourglass thingy. You just click on it and then it shows you how much you've read that day. And then it actually projects based on your reading pace how long you will take to read that book. Things like those. So things like when I track my reading and I have monthly TBR, like a yearly TBR to be read, for those who are not familiar with the term. If you have a yearly TBR, most probably it will change several times in the year, but if you have a monthly one, you can stick to it. Yeah. So when you're tracking your reading, I know I'm reading 4 books this month. So if I input my 2 hours per day, it can tell me, like, for instance, this book, it tells me I'll be done on 21st. I know I can pick up another book on 22nd and things like that. So the habit of tracking has really helped me to keep up with the I read for fun, but it's not always an easy thing to do. Yeah. Still on habits. I love talking about books. So that means I always have to find people who are reading the same books as me around the same time. I am a big advocate for buddy reading. I actually bully people into buddy reading with me. Like, if you post a book and I'm reading it in the next 2 months or in the next few weeks, I will convince you to wait for me, or I will ask you to bump it up to the top of your TBR, because I really love reading a book the same time with someone else who can talk about it, and I like complaining and ranting about books and all that. So it's really good. It keeps you even excited about finishing the books and all that. So buddy reading is a big thing for me. Actually, at the beginning of the year, I plan out my buddy reads. For this year, I'm reading one book with a friend. Up to I have books listed up to around November. So yeah, so habit wise, those are the things that my habits, I do them intentionally to make me read more, because, like I said, being intentional about reading. Yeah. So my favorite genre is African fiction. Anyone who knows me, that I don't even have to say. I like fiction in general, but African fiction has my whole heart, the whole of it. Yeah. If I start talking about how I love African fiction, we won't have enough time. Yeah. And the reason I love African fiction so much, it's because it's relatable. It's I like the simplicity of African writing. Yeah. um One thing I keep saying, I don't want to spend 2 hours. No, I don't want to be on 1 or 2 chapters talking about how green the trees were that day, or how cold the water was. Like, if it's an unnecessary, if it adds nothing to the story. And I find that a lot of Western books dwell so much on the descriptions that if you're not careful about it, it will your mind, you get lost. You feel like, oh, this is getting boring. But the thing with African fiction, they'll use one sentence and give a very vivid description, and it takes nothing away from the story, and it's something you can actually relate to. Yeah. So that's why I like African fiction. And my favorite African authors, I don't know if I can say she's my favorite because I've only read one book by her, is Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi. She's the author of, I've just learned it's pronounced Chintu. I've been saying Kintu. It's pronounced Chintu. And she has another book called First Woman, which I'm hoping to read soon. And then I also like Toni Morrison. I like, away from African fiction, I like Khaled Hosseini. Adobe Tricia is another recent fave. And yeah, those are some of my favorite authors. And my favorite books, it goes without saying, is Chintu is an amazing book. It's a historical fiction. Yeah. And I didn't even know I like that kind of those kind of books. I only noticed because I really loved Homegoing. Yeah. And I read Chintu 2 years after I read Homegoing, and the feeling was the same. Yeah, when I read Homegoing, it was a mind-blowing experience for me. Homegoing is by Gyasi. She's a Ghanaian author, and those two books, please, if you're my friend and you watch this, you know I've been bullying you about it. If you haven't watched this book, please, to rub friends. Chintu, Homegoing. Those are the books I recommend to everyone. Yeah. And a question I get from a lot of people who want to get into reading is, what kind of books do you think someone who wants to get into the habit of reading should read? And I would recommend Khaled Hosseini any day. Yeah. If you want to get into the reading habit and you want that one book that will get you into it, just pick up Kite Runner or A Thousand Splendid Suns or And the Mountains Echoed. You can read them in any order. I think Kite Runner was the first book. I'm not sure, but they're not related. So any of those books can actually get you into. I'm a testament, yani. I picked up A Thousand Splendid Suns and I've been reading consistently since then. So I'm currently reading Period Pain by Kopano Matlua. She's a South African author. Yeah. So this book, it reads like a journal. It looks like something that was just lifted off her diary, but it's actually pretty fun to read. Oh, fun is not the word for it. It's a light read. Yeah. If I may just show you, the paragraphs are kind of short and all that. The book is about a young woman who's had a painful menstruation experience all her life, and then eventually she got a solution for it, which I think was she's aiming towards a hysterectomy, but she got a solution that made her stop bleeding as much as she used to. And right after that, she got into medicine for the specific reason that she wanted to have a friend who could do a hysterectomy for her. So it's a very vague reason why someone would get into the medical profession. But unfortunately, she doesn't like the profession, the medical profession. So it's kind of a sad book. I wouldn't recommend this book for someone who's like feeling. You need to read it if you're in a good place mentally, because it's a little heavy. I'm reading this book as part of a challenge called Read Solid Photo Challenge of February 2021. So there's a bookstagrammer called Brown Girl Reading. She does this thing where she influences black bookstagrammers to read only black authored books in February of every year. So I've been doing the challenge for about 3 years. And yeah, so this is the fourth book I've read this month by a black author. So no matter what's on my TBR, if it's not black authored in February, I can't read anything else. So this is one of the book choices I made for that challenge this year. So it's a pretty nice book. It's short. It's 158 pages. I've taken too long to read it, 2 weeks. I don't know why, but yeah, it's a pretty nice book. I'd recommend it for women, especially who've had painful experiences with their whole cycle and all that. I think it's kind of eye opening. And also people who are in the medical profession and they're feeling the emotional burden of bearing patients' trauma and all that. So yeah, that's my current read. And then yeah, so one thing I came to realize recently is that reading actually makes me really happy. I've known that all my life, but I do this thing on Sunday where I have a toddler, and my house is a bit chaotic on most days of the week. So on Sunday afternoon, it's mommy's day off. So on those days, I go out with my book for 4 hours between 2 p.m. to 6 or 7 p.m. And on most occasions, I find myself finishing the book I'm reading a book I've been reading for 2 weeks, I go finish them in that one reading session, and that's such a beautiful thing. So I encourage people also to read in other places other than your homes or your offices and all that. I actually start every new book in a coffee shop. Yeah, every new book that I start it in a new coffee shop that I've never been to. So it gets you excited about beginning a book. Like, okay, I've seen this new place, I want to go there, and I'm still stuck on this book and I want to go here. So you'll even finish the book first so that you go to this other place. So those kind of habits really get me into the mood when I'm in a slump, for example. Yeah. And then something also I started doing around October of last year, I used to exclusively read paperbacks. Yeah. I didn't think ebooks were for me at all, because I thought about the distractions of, yes, I know you can turn off the notifications and all that, but still, it's your phone. You can just minimize and go to another app that you want to. So the distraction bit, I kind of got rid of it by finding the right reading app. Yeah, I really like Script, because you see, like, when you open the reading app, you don't get any, like, it covers the whole page. Yeah. And then even the aesthetically, you feel like you're actually reading a book. So I think if you find the right e-reader, there's not much of a difference. It's actually comfortable. It's a comfortable option when you're reading in bed, for example, or in transit, or somewhere where you can't just do this easily. Yeah. And then audiobooks, I incorporated audiobooks into my reading um in sometime last year, maybe mid last year. Yeah. But the thing with audiobooks, I find that I can only read memoirs, or I don't know if it's something I need to be more intentional about. But if I'm really into a story, audiobooks, I don't know, it's something I need to work on. But if you want to read a memoir, for example, yeah, an audiobook is such a good way of getting into a memoir. Yeah. The last memoir I read via audiobook was Common's Let Love Have the Last Word. And it's amazing because he reads it in his voice. If you know Common and you know that voice, really, it's a bit distracting because it's Common, but yeah. Memoirs, Jennifer Lewis, she has a memoir that she reads in her own voice. So if you can find a memoir that the author read by themselves, trust me, it's a beautiful experience. Give it a chance. Don't be too hell bent on, I love paperbacks and I can't read books in another format, because it can actually get you to go faster into your TBR. Yeah. So give audiobooks a chance. I've been A friend of mine has been trying to convince me about audiobooks for 3 years, and I only just got into it. So I want everyone to experience that liberation of not just sticking to audiobook, the paperbacks. Yeah. And then another tip I have for someone who's actually really trying to get into reading is, don't feel guilty about ditching a book you don't love reading. Um, um, I am the self-appointed ambassador of DNF in books. Do not finish. I am that person. There are so many books to be enjoyed out here. Yeah. If you read a book and by page 60, for example, you still don't know what you're reading, please just, sometimes it's the mental state you're in. Yeah. Sometimes it's not the right book for you at that time. You might pick it up another time and you will love it more than that time you read it the first time. So if you're not feeling a book, just set it aside. No one will kill you, no one will shoot you, no one will judge you even. And also don't feel like you are not a good reader because you set aside a book that you don't enjoy. So another tip I would recommend is, when you finish a book and you log it on Goodreads, yeah, and you do a review, and you're not very sure about what you want to read next. After you review, write below your review. There are usually some book recommendations. and those recommendations never fail. They never fail. That is for sure. Like if you read a book like this and you rated it 5, for instance, you'll see like either it will be also by this author, or it will be a book related to that. Those, because let's be honest, bookstagram as a community, it really influences your book choices. Yeah, sometimes you can get carried away because you're seeing a book everywhere, and then when you get it you wonder what the hype was about, and you've already spent so much money on it, so you feel like, I have to read this book because it was African fiction. People, we suffer. Our books are like 1600 and beyond. So you're thinking, oh my God, this book was 2000. So I actually need to read it. Yeah. But the thing is, you did not make an informed choice when you are selecting your book. So a tip I would give you, if Goodreads is holy grail for all people who love books. So apart from just seeing a book everywhere and saying, I want to read this book because everyone is reading it, just make conscious decisions about the kind of books you like. If you like this book, try and look for a book related or in the same genre or something like that. Yeah. Something I'm very passionate about in regards to the whole reading thing is, please buy books in the right places. If you can't afford a book, you can borrow, you can just don't steal books, guys. Authors go through so much. Authors go through so much to actually get the books published. It's, I can't even imagine what they go through. Only for the worst thing that has ever happened to me in this city is I saw someone selling secondhand books, and I was like, what? How it? What book was this? It was a book I really wanted, yeah. And then the price in the shop was 2,100. I said, I'm not buying that until it goes, eventually the prices go lower, especially if it's a hardback. And then now it comes in a paperback edition. So most times I wait for the paperback edition. But then I came across this Instagram page that was selling secondhand books. And then this book was like 600. And difference 2,100, and then this is 600. Yeah, they delivered the book. The book was pirated. I was so offended. I told this person I don't even want a refund, and I went on a whole tirade telling them, you're a thief, stop doing that, or I'll expose you on Instagram and all that. But that's really bad. Pirating books, that's the biggest evil. But then there's also PDF versions. Like someone sends you a PDF, like, I know you, like, the author will still make money and all that, but there are actually cheaper ways of you accessing books without you stealing from the author. It will take a while for you to, if especially let's say you've been reading PDF versions all your life, and then you're thinking, why would I buy this book when I can get it for free? Think about the author. Just imagine you've worked all 6 years for a book, and then someone just downloads it with 2 MB bundles, and then they probably don't even like it. And guys, we can do better. I'm really passionate about IP when it comes to books, and there are options and there are cheaper options, like the subscriptions. For example, I don't know how much script is, because right now I'm on, it's 1,000 per month, and you have unlimited. Is it unlimited? Think about that, guys. 1,000 shillings if you like ebooks, and you have unlimited access to books, as opposed to you just downloading a book. And here's the thing, there are books everywhere, cheaper options. So in that regard, if you find books too expensive, go to half price books. They have second hand legit copies. There's these inama shops everywhere. Also, be careful about the inama shops, because they also, some of them also actually sell pirated copies. Yeah, there are some. If you go to an inama shop and you find a book that is okay, let me give you a tip about inama shops. You find a book that's second hand, but it's new and it's covered and it has paper, that's a pirated book. Do not buy a book that's cheap, like 300 shillings or 500 shillings, and it's covered with like that plastic wrap. outside. It's a pirated book. Do not buy that book, please. First of all, it's not even a good reading experience because you'll find that the print is off. Like this, the margins are all the way here. You can find the print is skewed. Why would you do that to yourself? So Inama, there are actually legit Inama shops where you can get well-loved second-hand books that are not pirated. Me, my biggest issue is pirated copies. If you find if you find a book that's 500 shillings and it's selling at the shop for 2,000 shillings, ask yourself. Nothing can be that easy. Yeah. So guys, let's try. If you steal books from a Kenyan author, by the way, me, I'll come to your house and you'll answer to. Okay, that's it about IP. Let's do better. I started reading ebooks via the wrong channels. So I'm not judging anyone. I'm just telling you can do better if you really want to. And there are actually cheaper options of you getting books in the right way. There is an app called Handy Library where you can track the books you have. So when you get a book, yeah, when you get a book, you log it in so that you know how many books you have in your shelf. So Handy Library has a scan ISBN option. So you find a book like this and you just do a scan on it. You will know whether it's a legit. You can actually even do this on coffee shops. I mean, bookshops. It doesn't have any effect because you're not, you see, like now it's showing, period. That's a legit copy. If you're not very sure about the copy you're buying, just do that. Handy Library. Yeah. So that can help you, if especially those in Ama shops, if you're not sure about the kind of book you're buying, if it's legit, just do that. If it's not legit, it won't even pick it up. Or some don't even have the code thing. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. It's just one of those things you can actually be intentional about if you want to. Yeah, we know books are expensive, but if you can't afford the books, don't steal them. So, like I said, I recently turned my account into a bookstagram. So I'm just about 6 months into being a full bookstagram. My handle is Joan Zoya, Joan and then ZOYA. Same handle on Twitter. Those are the two channels I talk about books. Two channels where I talk about books. I don't have a Facebook, or I have a Facebook, but I'm not active there. So on Bookstagram, on Instagram is I do reviews, and I've found such a good community over there. While I'm here, I would recommend some of my favorite bookstagrammers also to follow. There is Saka for Coffee. Her name is Faith. She likes classics and fiction, and she's such a sweet soul. She should be everyone's friend. And then there is Julie Ambani. And Julie, I like Julie because she's a conversation starter in regards to publishing and authors and collaborations and all that. If you're looking to start a bookstagram account, she's one of the people you should actually be following. There is reviews by Frankie. um there is Empress of Buckingham, Lexa Wendy, big champion of Kenyan authors. um yeah, those are some of my favorite bookstagram. Oh, there's Linda Baraza. Her handle I think is El Baraza. So yeah, find a community. Me, I like talking about books, and I like that I have friends that I've never met, just because we talk about books and we give each other recommendations and all that. So yeah, find me there if you want to talk about African books, African fiction, or other books, or I'll be happy to engage you. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and yeah, I'll be looking forward to see you in the comments.